We call it Santorini. It's like a little taverna, little slice of Greece in Neutral Bay. It's the most unique property. It's unlike any other property we've seen in Sydney. And I know that it is unique because everybody who comes here goes, oh my God, this is so unlike any other property we've seen in Sydney. So we have got a very, very special place. Karl is quite new to the country and he'd never bought here in Australia. And so I think he was really happy to get some guidance and reassurance of how to negotiate the market here. I had actually owned a couple of properties here in Sydney, but I had lost touch for the last 10 years. So I also felt a little bit uneasy about going back into the market on my own.
I was just very time poor. So at the moment where we decided to embark on this, I just felt that in addition to having a lack of knowledge, I didn't have the time that you need to put in to the process of finding a home.
Sick of the rental market, basically, and constantly having to move.
Well, I think it was really for us to have a place of our own that we could turn into something that we could live in and shape the way we want it.
We met Vipul, and I think, and we trusted him, and we just thought, you know, I don't know, I had a good gut feeling. Like total chance and luck.
Yeah. And well, initially we were having a conversation about the property without knowing that you were a buyer's agent, but you seemed quite familiar with the area. You knew sort of what was going on in the market around where we were looking.
Had the experience, knew the area. Yeah. And
even in that first conversation, you gave us quite a bit of insight, and I think that was what sort of took us to taking your card and then calling you back.
Trust, definitely to do with, as I say, I had a good gut feel, I had a good feel about you, and I just think I trust my gut.
Just admit in the beginning I thought, well, I don't have too much to lose, and that then shifted to, gee, we've got someone who's knowledgeable about the market. We've got someone who's putting in the hard miles that it takes to find the right place. And we've got someone who jumps in when we can't. And there were a lot of moments where that was happening.
Yeah, I think also that whole thing about reassurance. You know, as I say, I'd been out of the market for a while. Karl had never been in this market. And we just wanted someone we could trust to actually guide us through the process. So I think for us, that was a big one, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
Vipul was just fantastic in that he helped us sort of navigate the market and guide us through all the different process and all the different steps in buying a place.
You were making it clear when things needed to be decided and how, and you weren't allowing for that procrastination or excuse. We were still making the decisions, but you were framing them for us, and that was really, really good. I think as we went through the process and as we saw you engage, and I think a lot of it just had to do with we could see your commitment. We could see that you were, even when we weren't talking to you, you were out there looking at things, you were checking things out. You were always engaged.
Skills are excellent. Like you would constantly send us messages and reminders and constant on the WhatsApp group thing, which was really helpful, I think, because we could just see that you were on the case all the time. You were not letting go. And that I sort of respected, and I thought, wow, this guy means business.
And it was interesting because you were not just managing the process. Frankly, you were also managing us.
Yeah.
You were keeping us in line. You were getting us to make the decisions that needed to be made at each point, or considering things that needed to be considered, and that helped to build confidence and trust in the services that you provide. And frankly, I don't think we would have gotten the place if you had not been helping us. So that started at the moment where we were here. We did not bid at the auction, although we knew this was the place we wanted. We were still missing information. We didn't have our finances lined up. There were a whole lot of reasons we couldn't bid. But luckily, the place turned in at auction, and that's when you sort of shifted into gear immediately. And got us positioned with the real estate agent, started those discussions, put a first bid into the real estate agent, And then really you drove that entire negotiation process from there. And we always felt like we were looped in, but you were doing all the footwork. And
we had no idea what we were doing, really. Without you guiding us through it, I mean, we would have lost it for sure.
we thought the negotiation was almost done, and you called us and said, look, if you can come over and sign tonight, we can get this deal done. And we were very excited about this. And our solicitor fell over. And literally at 6:30 in the evening, we were there without the necessary paperwork. And the only way to close this deal was to be in the real estate agent's office by 9 in the evening, ready to sign. And within those very few hours, you helped us get a new solicitor on board, deal with all the paperwork issues that needed to be done. And we were able to go in and sign that contract that night and lock it in. When I look at the actual numbers, I think we probably came in, we paid about 30% less than we thought it was going to cost to get this place. I guess my biggest concern was, are you going to get value for money?
Yeah.
And sort of when we initially started talking, I was like, yeah, it's all. But what helped me through that was the fact that your offer was outcome based. And I felt, well, we can give this a go. We can actually give it a try. And it was limited to a time period initially that was doable for us. If it doesn't happen, then okay, then we haven't really lost much. That was actually the interesting spin on this, was that one of the most beautiful features is the fact that we're on the top of a cliff and we have a wonderful view.
Yeah.
But that then raised structural questions like, where does the water come from?
Is it
Where does the
stable?
sewage go?
Yeah.
What are the problems that are there? And we got those clarified really quickly thanks to a lot of the network and connections that you have.
Yeah. I think that's where we got massive value for money, because you just went straight into building inspections and getting, sewage maps and I don't know what, and just reassuring us that this place was not falling off a cliff, because it looked like it might be.
Well, I think you can look at it from different sides. One was having you engage freed me up to be able to continue doing my job, and from that sense was creating value, because that's where I make my living, and I didn't have to focus on things I don't do well, which you were doing for us. I
wouldn't have felt confident to do it by myself.
And I think the other element clearly is within the budget that we had. We realized after a while that there were limitations in terms of what we would be able to achieve, and you got us something much better than what we thought was going to come out of that, and we're extremely happy with that. So there's absolutely no thought, no question that we got value for money in working with you. We knew that this was really what we wanted, but we had no information at all. We didn't know whether the value that was being asked was right. We didn't know whether the place had problems. We had no idea what kind of work would need to be done on it. And within a really short period of time, while starting the negotiations with the real estate agent and the seller, you were helping us understand more about the property so that we were able to make the decision that needed to be made in relatively short period of time. I think by the time that opportunity fell over, I think we were relatively confident that you were going to get us across the line on something. You got us right back onto the process, and the outcome is much better than what we would have had if we had gone for that initial opportunity.
We didn't get too demotivated from that. I would never have imagined this place existed in Sydney.
Yeah. And it grows on us, and it grows on our friends. People come in and they'll look around and, wow, it's got so much potential. The other things you could do with it. We're like, it's great the way it is. We love it. We ended up with something way different and much better than what we were looking for. You, I think, helped us identify what it was we were really looking for, and then pushed the boundaries on that a little bit, because the place we ended up in was actually a bit off the brief. And that was good.
Totally off the brief.
We've just ended up in a dream home, and when we first saw it, we fell in love with it. And the amazing thing is, we probably wouldn't have had the guts to go out and get it without your help and your support.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be sitting here having a glass of wine in the taverna, would we?
I thoroughly recommend you, definitely, to find something that way surpasses your dream.